Welcome to another edition of the Notes from Erin newsletter and podcast. I'm very excited to have a guest here today.
Yeah.
I'm here with Jordan Hernandez, who runs Completely Booked. Jordan, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I love this setup. I love your logo. So I'm just thrilled
Thank you.
to, have a little Black Girl magic going on right now.
Perfect. So I guess we could get started. So, one thing, since you are a big reader, one thing I love to know from other readers is like, what is your first memory of being a reader? Like, what do you remember about it?
Yeah, so actually quite the opposite of what I'm sure a lot of other people have said. There's so many authors that I interview and chats like this that I have with other book lovers that are like, I've been a bookworm since I was 3 years old, since I could start reading. I hated reading when I was a
Okay.
child. If there was a reading comprehension test in school, probably between kindergarten to honestly, I would say like fourth, fifth grade, I failed it. I just was not like it just wasn't clicking. It
Mhm.
wasn't a thing for me. I didn't enjoy it. I liked stories and I liked hearing stories, but the act of reading and remembering what you read and then being tested on it just was just horrible for me.
Yeah.
So my first love of reading actually came from magazines. My both of my parents are big readers, and my dad particularly loved reading magazines. And then someone had told my mom, "We'll try to, get her into magazines." So between the two of them, I'm blessed to have grown up with parents that have been married for 100 years now. No, they've been married
I
for 30,
love.
34 years now. That they both, obviously were super involved in my life and my sister's lives. And when someone said this about magazines, they brought home a ton, and I have always loved magazines. So that's really my first like joy of reading was magazines because the books just really weren't working out in the beginning.
Well, I could see that as a thing because I feel like also magazines, like I had a love of magazines growing up too. Like I would read like Teen Vogue, I would read
Yes.
Suede and like Honey and stuff like that. I felt like those were good because they were also like short form pieces of content, even though they were so
Right.
long.
Yeah.
So I could see that as a thing. Like, did you have a favorite one when you were growing up?
Oh my gosh, I think when I was a lot younger, like probably like 12, 13, 17 magazine for sure.
Oh yeah.
Cosmo was still one of my favorite magazines. And then it's interestingly enough, and I wish we still had some of these publications, Jet Magazine. I just knew I was going to be the beauty of the week when I was, when I grew up, I was going to be Jet Magazine beauty of the week. Of course, Essence, of course, Ebony. I'm a big Elaine Welteroth fan with Teen Vogue, a huge Mickey Taylor fan with Essence. So just all of those, together, growing up when I was really little, like a J14 highlights, those kind
Oh,
of
I used
things.
to
Yeah.
love. I forgot about J14.
Yeah.
No, and I used to want to be a jet beauty, but I also wanted to be like, you remember in Ebony, I believe they used to have like those HBCU princesses.
Yes.
I used
Yes.
to like circle them and be like, oh, this will be me when
It's
I
gonna
get
be
older.
me. I
So
loved the like what they had in their bag before I knew that all these things were sponsored. But like the what they had in their bag and you could like, see. I'm like, oh, like if someone catches me out and about and they ask me what's in my bag, what's gonna be in my bag? And I would like, make sure I would have like cool things as if
mm,
anybody was ever gonna ask me what was in my
I mean, you
bag.
don't know. I still try to do that. Like I still try to have my little compartments together.
Yes.
And then just like a little pivot. So talking about magazines, I know from your Instagram, I think,
Mhm.
or no, maybe it was on Substack. You're reading If I Wrote the World by Amy DeBose Barnett.
I just finished it this week, yes.
So
And
what did
it's
you
oh my God, it's of course, like my dream book as a child would be to live her life in this live Nikki's life in this book. It was great. I mean, obviously Amy is a powerhouse in and of herself, coming from Ebony,
Mhm.
coming from, legacy media and just doing all of the groundbreaking work that she has done in her career and then to shift over to writing this book with that expertise in mind and just you could really get you know that of course you can do research and find out what it's like to work at a magazine, but there's just nuances that only someone who has been in that space would know. So I loved it, and I just loved the like nostalgic feel. There's so many little drops in there. I don't want to give some of the examples that I'm thinking of from the 90s that then she puts that we would know in daily, from living through those
Mhm.
experiences she puts in the book. But I think if I say some of them, it will give some things away. But there's some really cool references, not using real people, but some really cool like moments that she ends up throwing in there.
No, I loved that book. I felt like it was, like you said, like the nuances for magazines. I think also like the music that was captured.
Yes.
And then like some of Like, I think it was a really good book. Like, I think even when you start from the very beginning, I felt like I was like, I feel like it captured me the whole entire time. Like,
The
I feel
whole
like I just
time.
loved
And
it.
you forget how much media was the your only way of knowing things. Right now we have social
Mhm.
media and you can find out things. Everyone's a journalist. You have, you can text people, you can call people, but the like drama that went on without it really following you home because
Yes.
you couldn't connect with people outside of work or outside of being with them in person. It's just such, it's still like, I'm like, oh yeah, like we used to only find out things on the television or only find out things when they were printed in a magazine once a month.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons. I kind of miss that time,
For
but I
sure.
also do like the social aspect
Yes.
too. So one thing too, so going into social and going into your community that you've built with Completely Booked, for one, like what made you want to start that community? And I think also another question, well, you could go there. I have a few questions, but
Sure. I started completely booked in 2020, like February 23rd, 2020, right before the pandemic. I'm very proud that it wasn't like I oddly like wear it like a badge of honor that I wasn't just like this didn't come out of COVID. It
Mhm.
grew because of COVID for sure, but I kind of had the idea. I don't sit on ideas very long. If I have an idea, I'm very quick to act on it. I thought of it and then just kind of started doing it. So I didn't really know that a community was going to come out of it. I just started posting on Instagram because friends would ask me what books I was reading or magazine I was reading. And I just was like, let me just, start posting about this. Not really. Influencers obviously were a thing 6 years ago, but not the way that they are now.
Yeah.
So I never thought of, getting free books or anything like that. And I definitely didn't think all of the friends that I now have through Completely Booked, like actual lifelong friends, would come from this. So it really is, and I try to keep it that genuine, but it truly
Mhm.
was just like it just happened and just started snowballing into what it is today.
No, and I love that you said you like don't sit on ideas because I think sometimes people get lost. Like, well, I'm a person that I'm talking to, but I think sometimes I come up with an idea and I'm like, oh, let me think about it, and I don't ever execute. So I love that. And I guess like from that, like, how have you found that your community has shifted? And then also, I think with reading, it's such like an individual thing that you do by yourself. So like, how have you seen your community grow, and then also how like I guess like how you're reading within the community because I do think it
Yeah.
is somewhat different probably.
No, it's a good point because when I first started, I didn't have a book club. So, and my book club wasn't born until 2021 was our first meeting. So the whole first year really was just me. And
Mhm.
I work come from marketing. I majored in communications and I've always been in this space, but never really in the social media side of things. I come from print, I come from sales, so definitely old school media. So building it that first year and just posting, I was just kind of like learning. So since then, it has shifted, into being more community based, where there are actual
Mhm.
moments where we meet in community. So that is the biggest shift. Virtually, we meet for book club once a month, and then once a quarter ish, I try to have a book swap. So that's an in person meeting. I've done different meetups throughout the
Oh,
years.
nice.
So that's obviously been a big shift. But what I will say with the shift too is I have my like core group of people who have always been there, who know me with like 2 followers, but then I have people who know me from having 10,000, 20,000 followers. So there's a different dynamic with that. And I just, I try my hardest. I have no interest in being fake, right? This is true. This is who I am when I'm giving you my book review. This is who I am here. This is who I am at home. This is who I am at my job. And everybody in my life will tell you that. So but it is also like it's an honor, but it is a burden to pick the books for people, right? To
Mhm.
read in community. And while also keep staying true to my brand with making sure that we're reading diverse books and welcoming authors of all walks of life without just like checking a diversity box, but also making sure the book is good and making sure there's books that are good and there's books that are book club conversation worthy. So making
Mhm.
sure we're picking books that are book club conversation worthy. So there's a lot of elements I would say that go into me picking the book for other people, particularly in the book club space. So I think that's been a big shift with building a brand and building my like mission around the books that I pick. Because at first I really was just kind of picking whatever I
Mhm.
wanted, whatever I wanted to pick.
No, I think that's interesting because I do think like people will sometimes say like, "Oh, this is a good book," but not every good book translates to a book club book
Yeah.
because it still has to be something that is able to like be discussed.
Hmm.
I guess with that, do you have any like recently that you have felt like were really good book club books that you would also recommend that people, I guess
Oh
people can
yeah,
celebrate
we
them for
just read
themselves?
in February "The Latest Green" by Sahar Mustafa. She is a Palestinian author, and she grew up going back and forth between the U.S. and Palestine. So she has that dual experience in all of her books. The characters are either born here or they're like first generation here. They were born in Palestine and they come here. So there is that like back and forth, and it's just they're so nuanced. I think unfortunately in this part of the world we have such a warped idea of South Asian as well as Middle Eastern countries. There really wasn't much positive representation of either background growing up for us, like in the 90s and early 2000s. We did not see great representation of people from that part of the world. And I think she does a really great job of throwing you into the culture, right? Like there's like, words in different languages, and she references different dishes in different parts of the country
I
that
love.
you may have to do some research on, but she isn't leaving you in the dark. So she does give
Mhm.
a lot of really great context. And one, I think that brings up a lot of conversation for people who have heard about certain things and people who haven't. And then also just the nuances of that culture. And then there's a lot of layered with generational trauma, with story, immigration, and with, mother-daughter situations and family and friends. So it's just a really, really nuanced, like, that is like a 2 hour book club book, I would
Okay.
say.
No, that sounds really interesting. I'll add
Yeah.
that to my list. And then also like you mentioned social as part of like how that's part of how your community has grown.
Yeah.
Like I think one thing that I am curious about is growing your social like growing your community through social because all social kind of like works differently. So like Threads is different than Instagram, it's different through TikTok.
Yeah.
So I think how have you found a way to like one be consistent with them all, but then also what have you seen? I don't know. I know what happened. How have you been consistent with it? And then also, like, how do you find the nuances and differences between the platforms and how you cultivate your communities?
Yes, I am an Instagram. I am a millennial. Like I'm a millennial through and through. I'm like, give me Instagram all day long. A
Yes.
TikTok I'm on. Substack I've been enjoying too. And I just for Substack and for TikTok I have just made goals for myself because I am so loyal to Instagram. I just love the setup of Instagram. I obviously know it. My people are there. I'm pretty polished at all times, and so I think that that's just more of my lane. Whereas TikTok, I'm like, I feel like my hair can't be brushed. Like I feel like I like it needs to like be doing my makeup as I'm talking to you. Like
Yeah.
there's just like, and I made a joke the other day on Instagram that I gotten a book from Catherine Adele West, who's one of my favorite authors, and as soon as I got the book, I like, put the camera up to my face and I was like, oh, I should put this on Instagram because I want her to get the, notoriety for her new book coming out on my page. But I was like, this is my TikTok look. I looked a mess. Like I was about to go, literally was about to go to sleep when I filmed this video. And I was like, well, here you go, Instagram. If you want more of this, then come on TikTok. But I just, I just like the look of Instagram. TikTok, I do have goals for myself. I'm trying to post twice a day on TikTok and at least once a week on Substack. And I just have like easy, like the bookmarked post every week. I like have easy things that I can check off, on Substack. Yeah, great. That's my one time a week. TikTok, I had big ambitions in the beginning of the year and I was really, really good with that. My dog did pass away about a month and a half
Oh,
ago.
I'm
So that has
sorry.
kind of like thrown some things off. I was like, I'm still gonna be good at this. And then it was like 2 weeks later, I was like, yeah, grief is really hitting me. And I'm usually not a person to like kind of let things like if I have a goal, I'm going for the goal. So I really haven't let it, get in the way too much. But there definitely have been days where I have not posted twice on TikTok, and I think I have not posted on Substack in a little over a week now.
Well, I feel like TikTok intimidates me. Like I could see how you said like it's more of a candid space, and I know like with books, that's where a lot of like the book conversations have grown through
Yeah.
like book talk. But something about TikTok, even working in social, it scares
It's just
me.
every time you have to introduce yourself, and then like I don't know. I'm like my people are Instagram people, so I'm there and I love scrolling TikTok. Like
Same.
Lord knows it takes up way too much of my time. But in terms of like building there and just like what ends up taking off is weird. And then people always have something to, not that I like get bad comments ever, thank God, but people always have something to say, or people just have questions. Like, you can Google that answer. So
Yeah.
there's just like
Yeah.
certain, it's a weird vibe on TikTok.
No, I can see that. But I like do you find that you've moved your community to all of them, or they still kind of say like where they are?
I think to all of them, I think I just have different people. I think some people on TikTok, I keep seeing the TikToks that are like, do a video of reintroducing yourself on TikTok, and I probably really should just do that, because I'm like, you guys don't get it yet. Like, you don't know who
Yeah.
I am. Instagram, yeah, people, people know, and we're in community, and even if they find, like, even new followers, like, kind of immediately get it on Instagram.
Hmm.
Substack, I think there's a really interesting group on Substack, and I'm mostly on like Black Substack right now. So of course we all hype each other up. It's like, all the girls in
Hmm.
the comments, and it's lovely. I am really enjoying the like energy and the community that is coming around me on Substack. I never really thought about a post going viral on Substack, and I posted a post with 20 different books that have Black women's
Yes.
faces on them, and it's gone wild. Like, truly every 3 minutes, my phone lights up with another notification. So that has been really cool to grow in that way, and just really like Instagram and Substack, I think, are where my people are. Threads, I love Threads. My Instagram just pulls to Threads, but the book conversations on Threads are really, really great.
No, I can see that. Yeah, and I like I saw your post go viral on Substack because I was like, oh, because I feel like the way you had, like, I'll link it so people can see it, but like, I
Yeah.
loved the way like the photos or the books were in the photo.
Uh-huh.
So I think like one thing that I thought of when I saw that post is like the importance of reading more diversely because I do think I read pretty diverse, but I think sometimes I can kind of like lane or I end up in one lane, I guess.
For
So for
sure.
you, like how like what is the importance of reading diverse? And you had like a really good you wrote like I wrote down what you said and now I can't say it, but it was like something you said like if you are only reading books that look like you, then basically like you're judging
What are you doing?
because you shouldn't. Uh,
Yeah.
and I felt like I like wrote. I was like, oh, this is a bar. Like it was really good. So like for you, what is like your priority with reading diversely, and then also like I guess that could be the question, or like if you
Yeah.
have any tips for people to start learning more.
For sure. I mean, look, book reading is a form of entertainment, right? So we don't always have to be going to be super educational. I think two things that I get a lot. I read obviously a lot. I have book and book page, and I also have run 2 marathons. And immediately, when anybody, for the most part, when you say, "Oh, I read a lot" or "I run a lot," people will say, "Oh, I should read more. Oh, I should run more."
Hmm.
My answer to that is always only do both of those things. If you want to do both of those things, for sure, the running, check with your doctor, all those kind of things first. Like, don't be saying that I told you to run more and then you get hurt. So, like, that's first things first. And I think that with reading, it is entertainment. So, yes, I do gravitate towards Black women authors. I just like reading them. I like seeing myself represented. So, that is always going to be my default. However, we have such little representation in media, like when it comes to
Yeah.
television, when it comes to movies, ads, models. Like, so with reading, that is the one platform that you have a lot of opportunity to go really diverse. A friend of mine, like, this was years ago, probably 2021, 2022-ish, I was reading The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila
Oh
Harris,
yeah.
Beach, great book. And she's a white friend of mine, and she was like, "Oh, I just love that you always read diverse books." And I was like, "Well, this book is about a Black girl working in marketing in New York City. I'm not learning anything from this book. She is me," right? Like, I literally, that is me. I'm like, now, if you read this book, you would get a different perspective. And we both worked at
Hmm.
the same job at the time. And I was like, maybe, you might read this and get a little bit of what I sense in the workplace sometimes. And so, and she's down for the cause. Like, we had to have had great conversations before with her. So, like, I knew, I was in a safe space with her. So to me, especially after having that conversation, I was like, well, I do want to expand my horizons when it comes to reading, because this is really where, like I said, with Sahar Mustafa's book, like, this is really where people pour their heart, their energy, their research into what it is that they're sharing with you. So
Hmm.
I did see something a while ago, I forget who it was, and they had a shirt that was made, or a tote or something. And it was like, if you only read white authors, you're not well read. And then it was like, amplify Black literature or read Black literature or something like that, it said. And I was like, well, if you only read Black authors, you're also not well read, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we live in the United States of America. There is no one here besides Native Americans who was from this country. You may have to go back generations to find somebody who comes from a different country, but someone in your family came from somewhere other than here. And I just think it's
Mm-hmm.
our duty as people, especially with our stories being erased now with the current administration, to learn more about each other. It builds empathy. You understand why people are making certain decisions. Reading, being an American, honestly, being a proud American, I don't mind. I have no shame in saying that I'm very proud to be from the United States for a number of reasons. I'm very ashamed to be from the United States for a number of reasons, but ultimately very proud to be where I am from. If you talk to someone from Afghanistan who lived there or who's an immigrant there and read about their experience in the United States in the early 2000s, you're not getting the same story of the like united we stand that we all
Yeah.
hear about, right? Like their experience was not that in the early 2000s. It was completely different from what the rest of us were feeling. If you read, Black people's stories in 2020, while people are joking about COVID now, like 6 years later, our stories were wildly different. I was
Yeah.
my sister worked with me at the time. I was the first person in my office virtually to know of a family member who passed away from COVID. Nobody else was having that experience because everybody else is white. Not that white people didn't die during COVID,
Yeah.
obviously, but it was wild disproportionately affecting us. And then you have Black Lives Matter. And then so I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be working during this time. So I just think reading gives you that perspective. And for the most part, whether it's fiction or not, it gives it to you in a first person, this is what I'm feeling. Let me walk you through my journey
Mm-hmm.
story. It can be uncomfortable in terms of tips for people. You're doing a lot of unlearning and a lot of relearning and the way that you shape and navigate your own world. So I can understand that that can be difficult, particularly if you're in a book club conversation where you end up like bringing that book to conversation. You can feel like you're an imposter. You can feel like you're like, oh god, like I've really been making people to feel bad my whole life, or I've judged them. Maybe I haven't said anything out loud, but I have judged groups of people. So it's a lot of unpacking sometimes, but it's also fun. It's also
Mm-hmm.
interesting. You can celebrate other people and see why they're so proud of their traditions and why they're so proud of their parents who have immigrated here, or their grandparents, or why they die to tell their the next generation of their stories. So there's just so much that you can learn. And I think the biggest tip is just pick up a book from someone that you normally wouldn't read about, that you normally wouldn't see on your television, and just see what you can learn, while also knowing that that one perspective is not, you can't don't just read Sahar Mustafa's book and think you know everything about Palestine,
Yeah.
right? Like, don't just read. We just read Lachi's book. She's a blind musician. Like, we can't just read her book and now all of a sudden I'm an expert on people living with blindness, right? So knowing that, knowing that as well, but just really just expand your horizon and see who's open to chat with you about it.
No, and I love that because I feel like also like you said, like a lot of reading is also like unlearning things that you've known. But I think the thing that's nice about reading is that it's something that you do by yourself. So even if you are reading it and you are like, oh, I didn't know this, or I judge these people, no one else is going to judge
Only
you
you
for
know
judging
that,
it.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's nice because it does teach you. And I think with reading, you do get like the entertainment aspect, you get the learning aspect, sometimes you get the reinforcing aspect too.
Yeah.
Like I think it just opens up such a wide world. And one thing that you said that made me think of something else. So I spoke with Bazarat Muskebi, who wrote a book called I Hope You Find What You're Looking For.
Okay.
And it's a book about like Eritrea's independence and these three women
Mm.
and their journey through that independence. And when I spoke with her, because her book is part of like the Well Read Black Girl imprint, it's
Yeah.
one of those series or
Uh-huh.
the second one in the series. Like, I think what you just said made me think about that. But like for you as like a Black woman, like what is some of like the importance you get of being like a well-read Black girl? Because I feel like for me it's like empathy, and I think that's one of the things that you just touched on, but I'm curious to know from you.
Yeah, I mean, empathy for sure. I mean, one, reading makes you sit down. Obviously, there's studies that people who read for 6 minutes a day, your blood pressure is lower. You're able to just kind of like navigate through things a little bit differently, particularly if you're in conversation with people and it's like, oh, well, I saw this ending meant this to me, or this ending
Hmm.
actually, like, I saw it this way, or you're already empathizing when you're reading the story, and then especially if you're talking to people afterwards, it's a lot of times authors will leave things up to interpretation. So I think empathy for sure, is something that I get out of being a well-read Black girl. And shout out to Gloria Edom. I feel like we need to shout her out if we're talking about well-read Black girl. I
Yes.
love her. And I also just think the community, people who I would have never been in community with otherwise, whether that's geographically, because my book club is virtual. We have people who come on from all different parts of the country. We had somebody in Oklahoma who put in the
Oh,
chat
wow.
like 2 months ago, your page blesses me. And she said her name from Oklahoma. I was like, I didn't know people who lived in Oklahoma, let alone join my book club, you know? I definitely wouldn't have been coming across people from Oklahoma every day if it wasn't for community. And I think that is something that builds empathy as well. We read The Girls Who Grew Big by Layla Motley
Oh,
at the end
yeah.
of the year. Yeah. And as much as we read different diverse books and backgrounds, geography is something that is really hard to grasp for some people. Growing up in New Jersey, not far, I grew up like right at the shore, not far from Manhattan. I live in Hoboken now, which is very city-like, and I go to Manhattan pretty much every single day. Went to college in Baltimore. Conceptualizing rural America is so wildly difficult for me. I can conceptualize other religions. I have friends from all different backgrounds and I've celebrated their cultures with them. So I've seen a lot of things firsthand and I've traveled to different parts of the world, but for the most part, it's been major cities. For some reason, conceptualizing rural America, I'm just like,
Yeah.
what do you mean it's going to take you 4 hours to go get like a jug of milk, So
Yeah.
that's another form of diversity. And you find your things that like, then I like feel like I gravitate towards so many rural books because, and I'm like, but also like, this is like, that book is set in the 2000s, like the 2010s. And it's still taking them this long to go to just the doctor, like to go
Yeah.
for like a sonogram. The girls are pregnant in the book to go for a sonogram. And I'm like, what? So, I just think it's kind of uncovering different communities and different people. And again, that empathy.
No, I love that. Also, Leela Motley, because I'm originally from Oakland, so she's from the Bay
Oh,
Area. So,
yeah.
like, night crawling was really based in Oakland. So, like, I
Yeah.
remember some of what was happening, but I do need to read that
Oh, The
book
Girls Who
too.
Grew Big will change your life. It's so good. So, so,
Really?
so good. Yeah.
Okay. And then let's see. Another thing that I thought was really interesting that you wrote about, I like pulled some of your Substacks that I really
I
enjoyed.
love that
So,
you're like into my Substack.
I think,
And now I gotta write an article.
well, yes, please.
Yeah.
So, one thing that you posted that I really liked is I am trying to like dibble dabble a little bit more into audiobooks.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. I try to dibble because it's not like I don't know. Like I concentrate too hard on like where I need to be to do like to listen to them.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes I'm like not retaining as much as I would. So the
Right.
only way that I've been doing it well is that I'll read it in print. I'll read it on my Kindle. I listen to it on audio, so I'll do it like wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
For you, like what were some of your favorite, well, I don't want to like give away what you wrote,
Oh,
but
yeah,
like
that's fine.
uh,
That's fine.
what were some of your favorite audiobooks? And like for you, what makes a good audiobook, like either one listening or like the setting in which you consume it?
That's a really good question. I mean, I really started relying on audiobooks when I started booking a lot of moderator conversations because I got to get through it quickly, right? I'm not really a fast reader, and just the time of day once the pandemic stopped and people still get COVID, but like once we started picking up life again, I didn't have, was going to the office. My previous job, I was in the office 5 days a week. And so, yes, I had a little bit of time on my commute, but I really did not have a long commute where the office was. So I didn't have the time, right? Like I was like 2 weeks would go by and I'm like, oh my God, I'm posting about books that I read years ago because I haven't read anything. So I started picking up audiobooks, and I love, to me, what makes an audiobook is when the person can emulate the characters in not like an overly fake way. Sometimes there are people who like put on different accents, and I'm just like, that doesn't match up to what the person is saying. Like
Yeah.
it's just like it's not making sense. I think the best example, and I think I mentioned it in the article. If I don't, I should go back and rewrite the article, but I'm pretty confident I do. Is What Happened to Ruthie Ramirez. That is
Yes.
by far one of the best audiobooks I have ever listened to in my entire life. Obviously, like Kennedy Ryan's books are great audio wise. She just gets like the
Mm.
sexiest man's voice to like play the characters. So like that, great. Best Man, not Best Man Holiday, Best Man, the Final Unfinished Business,
Yeah.
I think it's called. Like that one's a great one, but for the similar reason. What happened to Ruthie Ramirez? Claire Jimenez, who was the author of that book, it is a fiction book. It's about a Puerto Rican girl who goes missing, and it's her family like trying to find her and basically uncovering that like black and brown girls just don't get looked for in the same way that other people do, which we already know, but it's their actual story.
Hmm.
And Claire, who is the author, is actually the audio book narrator
Oh, okay.
as well, which usually doesn't happen for fiction books. Growing up in New Jersey, obviously being right outside of New York, I'm sure you can hear my accent. Growing to like listening to her book, the book is set on Staten Island, and
Oh.
it's just Claire's accent is pure gold and just like what she does. And I grew up going to this girl that I went to school with, and we would go over her house on Mondays or Wednesdays, and she would come over our house on Wednesdays to give our parents an opportunity to just like work later during the week. And
Hmm.
her family is from Staten Island, so we would go to Staten Island to go see her grandma. We would go to the zoo a lot, like all that stuff. So growing up, like knowing that and not living far from Staten Island, she nails it. Like it's just
Oh, I
so
love.
so good. So when that can happen in an audiobook, of course it's great. I think in terms of setting, I am what they call now an immersive reader. So, so for me to really comprehend a book, and as I mentioned when I was a child, it was very hard, and there are still moments that are really hard for me to remember what has happened in a book. I have to. My ideal situation is have the physical book, start reading it, no audio, just read the book. If I can see the characters' names, like how they're spelled out, that helps a lot. Then I'm going to listen to the book while I'm reading it, right? So if I'm sitting in
Hmm.
bed, the audio is playing and I'm reading
Mm.
the book. And then I can go ahead and just listen to the audio for the rest of it. But I kind of have to like figure out where everyone is first. If I wrote The World Was Easy because it's all told from Nikki's perspective. It's
Yeah.
all in, there's no time lapse. There's like everything was just very linear. Whereas right now I'm reading The Seven Daughters of Dupree by Nikisa Elise Williams, and that's a
That's
lot of back and forth.
confusing.
Like there's a lot of time hopping, a lot of character hopping. So right now I am in the phase of laying in bed, either in the morning or before I go to sleep with the book, listening to the audio, going back on the audio. Like I just need to like get the characters before I can just listen to it.
Hmm. That's interesting because I read The Wilderness,
Oh yes. Yep.
and you know how there's so many different
So many characters in
characters.
that one. Yeah.
I think if I would have immersive, because I didn't, well, I guess that does make sense. It's immersive. Like I didn't think of immersive as that way, but I feel like if I would have done that, I think because I had to read it like twice because I kind of got confused in the beginning.
It is a lot.
Um, so like I think especially for things where there's multiple timelines and like that would be good because right now I finished reading Ken in print, but I'm
I have
reading.
that. That's high up on my list.
It's good.
Is it?
Yeah, it's really good. I'm rereading it again, but I read an early version, so I'm reading it
Okay.
now with the audiobook and I'm reading it in print. And you know how like now on Spotify you could do the page match thing?
Oh, I didn't know that because I
Oh my
usually use
gosh.
Spotify.
You have to use a page match because this is
But
what they
but is
do.
it only like with like a Kindle?
No, it's everything.
Oh,
Because all you have to do is just like take a picture of where you are and it'll find it in the audiobook. And then when
stop
you
it. No, it
yeah,
won't.
it's new and I've been doing it. And then
What?
you put like when you want to go back from audiobook to reading it in print, you just have to place it and it'll tell you which page to go to. It is so cool.
Wow. See,
Hmm.
the kids got to show me things nowadays. Like, that's wild. Oh,
No.
I'm really too blown away by technology for like my young age. But it's just like that's really I gotta try that.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone
I
didn't think of
do
it
love like
before.
getting if I do happen to get like a really early copy of something, I do love the immersive reading because you can see the small words that they change. Like sometimes it's like the
Hmm.
most minute detail. I'm like, ooh, how did they like why did you come to like why did the editor come to that, right? To change like
Yeah.
from great to awesome or something, just like that small of a change is always really fascinating
Mhm.
to see.
No, I think so too. And then also with your Substack still too, you wrote about 11 novels from Black women coming out in 2026.
Yes.
So Well, yes. So, did you have any like favorites from that list or any that you're super excited about? And when you are creating like a list like this, like how do you think to put it together? Like, do you follow a theme or because I know you also did the one from the Boricua. I said that so wrong.
Oh yeah, from the Puerto Rican authors. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, and I really
yeah.
loved that one too.
For sure. So, I mean, I'm very happy I was able to squeeze in If I Ruled the World, because I don't like I didn't pick that one for my book club. Maybe later in the year, but I didn't pick that one for my book club, and I don't have any like author conversations set up with Amy right now. Amy, call me if you want to chit chat about. I did DM her. I was like, we should chat about this. She just like liked it. I was like, okay, talk to you later. So but I could always email somebody, and I'm sure I could get a conversation. But it's having book club and doing a lot of the events. I really read for those things now.
Mhm.
So that was high up on my list. That I was like, oh, I really, really want to take the time to read this book, and just kind of see if I can squeeze it in. Right now, I'm gonna have to sweep through the Seven Daughters of Dupree because I do have a conversation with Nikisa next week because I squeezed in If I Ruled the World between my book club pick and now this one. But it was worth it. Like that was really, really high up on my list. Kin is high up on my list as well. I don't have a conversation right now with Ciari, although she did message me. Like she was just like, hey, like can you send me your address? Which was such a full circle moment because when I first started my book club, and I didn't have the author on every month, when I didn't even think about that when I first started. The very first book we read was An American Marriage.
Oh
So
wow.
it was, to have her just like unprompted DM me, I was like, this is kind of insane. So
Mhm.
I do really want to read that one. So those two I say are high up on my list. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones. It's on Instagram. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that are on the list that I'm probably forgetting about. I did a post similar to this last year, of books, by 11 books, or I think it was 12 books or whatever it was last year by Black women. There was an account, and I forget the account's name, that they were posting, they were like collabing with other creators. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I want them to collab with me. So I DM'd them and I was like, hey, like I have this idea. I think we can collab together on this post, like 8 books by Black women that are coming out in 2025. Like, let me know if you want to collab on it. And they said, okay, but we like never came up with a date or whatever. And then I was like, hey, like following up on this. Hey, following up on this. Hey, following up on this. And they never said anything else. And I was like, I kind of want to post this. Like, I don't like these dates were starting to come up, and I want to post this thing. And it went wild. Like, it was one
Oh
of the
wow.
first ones that I had viral on Instagram. And I was like, and of course, a couple weeks later, they were like, looks like we missed a big opportunity. I was like, I did not expect this to happen with this post. So, at the beginning of this year, there were so many Black women that came out with books in January and
Mhm.
February that I was like, I really want to shine a light on these amazing books that are coming out. So I did it again. And then with Bad Bunny, I had posted a few like memes from his Super Bowl performance about recommending Puerto Rican authors. I am Puerto Rican, about representing just the representation. And someone was like, what is a list of Puerto Rican authors? And I got like a bunch of people liked the comment, and then I got it a few more times, and a couple people DM'd me. I was like, well, let me just put this together instead of like answering. I was like answering them like one by one. And I was like, okay, this like I just need one resource like for time, and so
Yeah.
that's really where that came from.
No, I loved it because I feel like, especially like that one, it gave me a lot to like look into because I do think, like I said, like I feel like I do read diversely, but again, like I kind of stick within the same kind of like wheelhouse. So
Yeah.
like I'm really like working on expanding what I read and like who I read to. So I thought it was a really great post.
Ah, thank you.
Mhm. And then you also posted one thing that you posted was like books for men. Because I literally just had a conversation with someone and they said like men don't read fiction. And I was like, I don't think that's true because I get fiction recommendations from men all the time. But
Yeah.
that was a very like timely
Yeah,
post.
I did a panel chat a couple years ago for the Harlem Book Festival, about 2 years ago now, for the a book festival in Harlem. It was with Mateo Ascari-Poor, who's the author of Black Buck and This Great Hemisphere. Clarence A. Haynes, he has a bunch of like sci-fi books, but he just wrote The
Hmm.
Ghost of Gwendolyn. Ghost of Gwendolyn's Past. Sorry, Clarence, and I love Clarence. I just can't remember like the actual name of the book. I was Nana Kwame, who wrote Chain Gang All Stars, and yeah, it was just 3 of them that were on the panel. Robert Jones Jr. was in the audience; he wasn't on the panel, but it was about Black men reading fiction specifically. And they were just, talking about how it's like, oh yeah, like I'll read, like, men will be like, oh, I'll read, but it's always like a self-help book or like a get rich
Hmm.
quick book. And I'm like, spoiler alert, none of you have gotten rich quick, so stop reading books. And and also like maybe read a different self-help book. So fiction is definitely the way. And there are quite a few Black male creators in the space that are huge. Smitty, Poppy 23 on Instagram and TikTok, who everybody knows, is a really big one. There's quite a few other. Jared, a Black man reading is his Instagram, and so there's a few that are out there, but they are far and in between. I just met somebody who I work out with, and her and her boyfriend are in a book club together, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't like that's a goal that I can
Mm.
have, date somebody and we're in a book club together. So I was like,
Oh, that would be nice.
adds the list of things in my future planner. So I mean, I don't come across that. I mean, I have friends that read a decent amount that are guys, but it's not like an overabundance of them. Obviously,
Hmm.
the way that I'm a little, the scale is tipped a little for me because I'm in the book community, whereas I'm sure the average person probably has friends that read an average amount. I'm
Yeah.
surrounded with book club people, so I think it's a little bit of an unfair setup. But yeah, it is. I mean, I do think more men could take the time to read.
No, I think so. I think it would make them better in relationships. And
Yes.
I feel like they all read, well, not to generalize, but like I feel like a lot of them read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I feel like I
Yes.
hear that all the time. And then
Yes.
also Atomic Habits all the time
Well, that's what I'm
too.
like. I'm like, please do not take me on a date and be like, oh, I read, and then I ask you, and you're like, Atomic Habits. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah,
Uh, well, then just also one random question I have.
yeah.
This is like a very, very random question, but
Okay.
you mentioned that you did marathon, so like you run and
Mhm.
then also you read. Like I do, like my two parallels are like music and books. So
I
like
love
those
that.
are the things I like the best or the most.
Oh, I
For
wouldn't say I
you,
like running the best. Yeah.
oh, well, as I say, do you see any like parallels between like the discipline for reading and then also the discipline that you have with running? Because I feel like they're both also like not necessarily routine based, but they're also something like you have to build the habit for.
For sure. No, no. I can. I mean, obviously I've run two marathons there. I just enjoy running to some extent. But I tell everyone, people are like, oh, so you're a runner. I'm like, no, I've just run. I need the pomp and circumstance of a marathon to run.
Mhm.
I'm not, people run in 2 degrees. Like I've trained with a lot of people, and like, those are runners. Like these are people who
Yeah.
run in all the elements. These are people who run when they're sad, who run when they're mad. It brings them joy. Like those are runners. I'm like, I
Hmm.
simply am just someone who wanted to try something twice. That's where I fall in the running spectrum. But again, it's probably the people I surround myself with. I do think that there is similarities. I think the more that, especially the last 2 years, I ran the New York City Marathon in 2024 and 2025. Obviously, I've had completely booked for both of those years. And I think just the way that I'm able to like internalize things when things get hard, when things are, tough, it's a lot. I'm a lot more resilient than I think I probably would be if I didn't have those forms of discipline. And it could be any
Hmm.
discipline. For me, it's those two. But I do think there is something to be said about committing to something and keeping promises to yourself. On the topic of dating, people talk about other people disappointing them all of the time. And I'm like, but how many times do you disappoint yourself? Like
Oh,
if you
that's
say
a
you're
word.
gonna, like if you say you're gonna read even 5 books in a year, and you only read three. You say you're
Yeah.
going to post, you want to be a creator and you want to post once a day or even once a week, whatever it is, and you just straight up don't do it. But you're banking on other people keeping their promises to you and you don't keep them to yourself. You sign up for a marathon, particularly I fundraised both years for the marathon. You have other people's money, you will get up and start running, right? Like if you have a
Hmm.
book club that's waiting for you, you will read your book. So I'm not a people pleaser, but you just have to put these things in place for yourself. And I definitely think it builds resilience, it builds empathy. And there's never going to be someone who's doing a lot that's going to like shit on somebody who's not doing a lot. Right. Like
Hmm.
I felt the best about being a slow runner around fast runners because they're never
Hmm.
going to put down someone for trying something. It's people who don't do anything that put other people down. Those are, I have friends with guys and girls who run sub 2 hour, 3 hour marathons. And they're like, oh, 6 hours, that's amazing. Right. Like keep going, keep doing it. When I was in conversation with Smitty or some of my friends who are bigger creators than me, like they're always like, oh, I saw that post of yours. That was amazing.
Hmm.
it's never the people who aren't doing anything that are hyping you up. It's always the people who are doing more.
I love that. Oh, no, that's good. And then, well, I feel like I could talk to you for a long
Oh,
time.
yeah, no, I love this.
So I have one more question, and then I have like a quick spitfire
Love it.
round that I want to
Yes.
try. So like the one last question is, if people want to get like if they want to be a part of your community, like how do they connect? Oh, girl, sorry, that was like a tongue twister. How do they get connected with you, and then also how do they join your book club too?
For sure. So you can follow me on Instagram at underscore completely booked. That's where you'll get me most. TikTok, it's completely booked, but it's so annoying. It's completely booked without the E. Like it's the ED at the end. It's just there's no E because someone hacked
Okay.
my other TikTok. And
Oh
I'm sure
no.
there's other people following. I was so annoyed, but whatever. It's this new TikTok. Substack, I think, is the same as TikTok. But if you type in completely booked and you see my picture, like that is me, unless it's the TikTok. Like if you see the TikTok that hasn't had anything posted in like a year, find the other one because that
Okay.
was the one that's hacked. And then to join book club, just DM me your email address. Book club is completely virtual. We meet the first Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8 p.m. The author is always on live with us, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. Author is always on live, and it's open to truly anyone. If I have to pay for the 1,000 person Zoom one day, I will pay for the 1,000 person Zoom. Right now, we're about like 40, 50 people a month. So we got a
That's
ways
a
to go.
lot.
But, but yes, DM me your email and you'll be added. I usually don't send more than 2 emails a month with the Zoom link both times, like when I announce the book and then when I get the book, look the right before book club to send out the Zoom link.
Okay, perfect. And I'll put like your links below too. So I keep saying this like it's YouTube, but I'll put your links so everyone can click it. And then, so here is a fast round. I
I'm so
just made it
excited.
up today.
Okay.
Okay. So, first, I feel like I know the answers to this, but what are you currently reading?
Oh, currently reading Seven Daughters of Dupree by Nikisa Elise Williams.
Okay. And then, well, I think I'm gonna change this one.
Okay.
So if you had to think of like a song or like an album that speaks to like your reading preferences and then also to your community, what would you say?
Oh, wow. A
That
song
one I
that's,
just thought about.
yeah, a song that speaks to my reading preferences or to my reading community. Oh my God.
Or an album. It doesn't have
Yeah,
to
like a
just be a song.
full body of work. My sister's here giving me an answer. She has a really good one. We Are the World. Although
Oh,
I'm
look.
kind of like I gotta separate the artist from the music with Michael Jackson. He's not here to defend himself, so I feel like I can still listen to it. But I think We Are the World does bring. I'm very conflicted on Michael. Okay, like there are some artists that it's very clear they're done, right?
Yeah.
We're not listening to them anymore. Michael, I'm like we have a lot of unclarity and he's not here, so
Yes.
like do I dance when I'm in public? I don't know. So but We Are the World I think has a lot of a lot of other people in it, and it truly, like, obviously the title of the song, like, it brings everybody together. And I think with book club, like, everyone has a moment to say something, just like everyone had a moment to sing. If you watch the special on Netflix that they did, the making of the music about it was really good.
Okay. And then um if you had one book that you think everyone should read, what would that book be?
It definitely sparks like stars by Nadia Hashimi. It's a young Afghan girl, and it starts with her in Kabul before Taliban takes over. Taliban takes over, and she does end up immigrating to the United States around 2001. So, like I was mentioning before, her experience was not like any of ours during 9/11. So, and it just is coming of age story. But again, that immigrant story, and it's one of my favorites.
Okay. And then well, I feel like this is already the same one because I was gonna say, what's a song that feels like a great book? But I feel like, oh,
Oh,
that's different.
it is. I think that is different. A song that feels like a great book. Um,
Mhm.
huh. I don't know why Solange's album is really coming to mind, like Don't Touch My Hair or Cranes in the Sky. Like
Hmm.
I feel like that album has a lot of depth to it, especially for Black women. And I feel like that could be like a soundtrack to some kind of book.
No, I think that's good because I feel like that one came to mind, and then Maggie Rogers, I heard it all in a past life
Oh, okay.
because it's like I don't know. I feel like you could be like outside,
Yeah,
like in
yeah,
the
or maybe like
wilderness, and then driving.
this just came to mind too, Young Hearts Run Free. That could be a good book. I think
Young
that could be
heart.
like a
Oh
Run
well, yes,
Free. Yeah, no,
yeah, that would be good.
that would be a really good book, I think.
Oh, I love it because I feel like it would be very like
And then
climatic
Victims,
at
the
the
follow up to
end.
that song. So like I feel like you could do like a little sequel. Yeah.
So I like that one. I like that. I like that. I was gonna say I like it better than the other, but I did like the other ones too. Perfect. Well, those are all of my questions.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for all that you're doing, and that we're now in community with each other.
Same. Perfect.